What's up? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel, Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective, and I'm here for the news. And here recently, Iran and Israel has started to engage in an all-out war. Now, Israel had a preemptive attack on Iran. Their excuse is that Iran is close to getting a nuclear bomb. Now, Iran do claim that they want to wipe Israel off the map. And they also yell death to America. But so does North Korea. And so does a lot of other countries, but nobody does nothing. The reason why these people have this sentiment towards the United States is because the United States levy an inordinate amount of sanctions on these countries. So they put the full weight of the United States government on these countries. So that means they can't trade and they can't make no money. Now we know Iran, I say 50% of their GDP comes from oil and natural gas. Who buys most of Iran's oil? Any guesses out there? Can you guess? Well, I'll give it to you. It's China. Who has the United States been in a trade war with? China. Now, United States played dumb or is trying to play dumb on the outside, yelling out they didn't, they wasn't, behind these attacks or helping with these attacks. United States 100% knew about these attacks. They helped strategize these attacks, allegedly, and they're okay with Israel attacking Iran. Why? Before I even get to the videos of what's going on, the missile strikes, the capability of both countries, and all these things, I'm going to take you back 17 years of General Wesley Clark. And I seen this video when it first came out. That's how I knew to look it up from 17 years ago. The United States of America stages coups around the world. They want regime change around the world with countries who they can't come to an agreement with. I don't even say agreement, who they can't exploit. I'm going to put it out there and be honest. United States is an empire, a superpower, and everything else that you could think of. And in the end, it's their way or the highway. Is that abnormal for a superpower? Absolutely not. Same for Rome, Great Britain, Greece, the Ethiopian Empire, Egyptian. I don't care how far back you go, how recently you come forward. It does not matter. All empires pretty much work the same. And so do the United States of America. And these type of things that are happening around the world, a lot of times there's no good guys and no bad guys. Iran has their own culture, and the United States would like to spread what they would call democracy, which is really just you bend to my will. You bend the knee. Let's take a look at this Wes Clark video on American foreign policy coup. Let's take a look at this.
Foreign TV. The world is thinking.
What happened at 9/11 is we didn't have a strategy, we didn't have bipartisan agreement, we didn't have American understanding of it, and we had instead a policy coup in this country. A coup.
And let me show you. As you can see, this video is from 17 years ago, you guys. This is not new. This is from 2007, November 5th.
A policy coup. Some hard-nosed people took over the direction of American policy, and they never bothered to inform the rest of us. I went through the Pentagon 10 days after 9/11. I couldn't stay away from Mother Army. I went back there to see Don Rumsfeld. I worked for him as a White House fellow in the 1970s, all this in the book. And I said, am I doing okay on CNN? He said, yeah, fine. He said, I'm thinking about it. He says, I read your book. And he said, this is a book that talks about the Kosovo campaign. And he said, I just want to tell you, he said, nobody's going to tell us where or when we can bomb. Nobody. He said, I'm thinking of calling this a floating coalition. What do you think about that? I said, well, sir, thanks for reading my book. And, he said, thanks. That's all the time I've got. Really? And I went downstairs. I was leaving the Pentagon, and an officer from the Joint Staff called me into his office and said, I want you to know, he said, sir, we're going to attack Iraq. And I said, why?
let me say this. I really don't want to cut him off too much, but let me say this. I read a book. I want to say it was 91 after the Gulf War, because I think the Gulf War happened in, I want to say, August of 90, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. You can correct me. But I read a book, and I was really young, but I read a book. I cannot remember the name of the book, but I remember reading a book. And they said in the book they were going back into Iraq. Guaranteed. So when 9/11 happened and they were talking about going into Afghanistan and Iraq, I I remember telling my homeboy they 100% going into Iraq. He said they ain't got nothing to do with the war. There was the Taliban and Al Qaeda. My homeboy Jay, he can vouch for me. I said this. This was like right after 9/11. I said, bro, 100% they're going into Iraq because they have this stuff mapped out and planned out way ahead. They didn't just go into Vietnam willy-nilly. They knew they was going into Vietnam in the 50s. So a lot of these things, they have think tanks where they come up with strategies and how they're going to move going forward and who they want in government and who they want in power. So it's not rare for these things to be understood early on.
He said, we don't know. He said, I said, well, did they tie Saddam to 9/11? He said, no. He said, but I guess they don't know what to do about terrorism. And so they think, but they can attack states and they want to look strong. And so I guess they think if they take down a state, it will intimidate the terrorists. And, it's like that old saying he said, if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every problem has to be a nail. Well, I walked out of there pretty upset. And then we attacked Afghanistan. I was pretty happy about that. We should have. And then I came back to the Pentagon about 6 weeks later. I saw the same officer. I said, why haven't we attacked Iraq? We're still going to attack Iraq? He said, oh, sir. He says, it's worse than that. He said, he pulled up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office. It says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said 7 countries in 5 years.
And as you can see, he said Iran last. He said in 5 years, but obviously the time frame is going to move. You can say that, but these people don't work on the time frame of us. Like when he say 10 years, that's over multiple presidents. So that's how you know the presidents really, they're like a CEO of the company, but they don't own the company. They're being puppeted by outside forces. Some people call it the Illuminati. Some people call it the rich elite. It doesn't matter what you call it, but it's outside forces who puppet all of these things. There's no doubt about that, 100%. So Donald Trump, when he comes into office, all of this stuff is already orchestrated. Like the man just told you, he said the countries they're already going into. Let's take a listen one more time.
Pull up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office. It says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran.
Hey, and every one of those countries Trump just put on the ban list. You might say, well, the time frame is off. He said 5 to 10 years. No, sometime the time frame might move, but the strategy still remains the same. We're still going in there. It might take a little time here or there. We might have to move some stuff around here. Something might not go right there. But eventually we're going into Iran. We want a war with Iran. Do I think they want to put boots on the ground in Iran? Absolutely not, because that would be devastating for the United States and our Israel. They want to make this an air war. They just want regime change, but they don't want to put boots on the ground no more. That's too bloody, it's too hard, it's too difficult. And there's usually you don't win at that. But they got regime change in Syria. They got regime change in Iraq. They did not get regime change with the Taliban, but they did negotiate and come to a deal with the Taliban to where the Taliban, all of a sudden, they just won't harbor terrorists no more, but they'll get to run their country how they want to. I did a video on that, how they left all the weapons for the Taliban. That was part of the deal. All of the American weapons.
I said, 7 countries in 5 years. I said, is that a classified memo? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. He was about to show it to me. He said, because I don't want to talk about it. And I sat on this information for a long time, for about 6 or 8 months. I was so stunned by this, I couldn't begin to talk about it. And I couldn't believe it would really be true, but that's actually what happened. These people took control of the policy in the United States. And I realized then,
You have to ask who are these people. He know who the people are. He won't say because them people are that powerful. But he knows who the people are. For sure.
it came back to me. A 1991 meeting I had with Paul Wolfowitz. You know, in 2001, he was Deputy Secretary of Defense.
That's the same year I told you when earlier I read the book, and I think it was like 91 because it was after the Gulf War. So I was young and I read that book. And that's why when the war that happened at the 9/11, before they even talked the strategy and what was going to happen, I said, they going into Iraq. My homeboy, I'm telling you, he said, how the fuck you know? When they finally went to Iraq, I said, how the hell did you know that? I said, I read that shit a long time ago. That lets you know that none of this stuff is by happenstance or accident. All of it is thought out and strategized. Now, will the white man be destroyed by hubris eventually? Absolutely. Hubris is just, you just overconfident. Like you just believe that your shit don't stink and that you can do everything you do is going to go right, but eventually it's going to work against you. But everything is well thought out. You can believe that.
But in 1991, he was the Undersecretary of Defense for Policies, the number 3 position in the Pentagon. And I had gone to see him when I was a 1-star general. I was commanding the National Training Center. I had met him one time. He said, if you ever get to Washington, come look me up. They always say that. Well, I was there in Washington. It was a Friday afternoon. I visited Colin Powell. He'd given me 5 minutes of his precious time and sent me on my way. And I was bored in the Pentagon. And I thought, I'll just go, who can I see? I think I'll see Wolfowitz. So I called him up there. He was available. Scooter Libby came to the door. I met Scooter for the first time. And he brought me in. And I said to Paul, I said, and this is 1991. I said, Mr. Secretary, you must be pretty happy with the performance of the troops in Desert Storm. And he said, well, yeah, he said, but not really. He said, because the truth is we should have gotten rid of Saddam Hussein and we didn't. And this was just after the Shia uprising in March of 91, which we had provoked, and then we kept our troops on the sidelines and didn't intervene. And he said, but one thing we did learn, he said, we learned that we can use our military in the region, in the Middle East, and the Soviets won't stop us. He said, and we've got about 5 or 10 years to clean up those old Soviet client regimes. Syria, Iran, Iraq, before the next great superpower comes.
And anybody who keeps up with these type of things, remember when they was going to war after the Iraq war and all of the upheaval with Syria, Russia was the only one there protecting Syria, which I want to say maybe was maybe the 2010s, somewhere up in there like that, after we had been in Iraq for a while in Afghanistan. But soon after that, we pivoted right to Syria. That's how you know none of this stuff is a lie. And this stuff with Iran, I don't care what they telling you Iran did or doing. It doesn't matter. They like, oh, we negotiate with Iran for nuclear. They trying to build nuclear bombs, such and such. You can't say everything's done in bad faith because you know ultimately what you want to do. It's like we negotiate. I'm talking to somebody and they like, oh yeah, let's just talk about this thing that happened between us. The whole time behind the scenes, they be saying, as soon as I get here, I'm going to hit this dude square in the mouth. I'm thinking we here to talk, but you really already got it planned out what you're going to do to me.
Comes on the challenges. And it was like, I'm coming out of the Mojave Desert. I've been training troops. I haven't been thinking geostrategy for some time. And suddenly a guy just sort of shoves this nugget at me. Well, you remember it. It was a pretty stunning thing. I mean, the purpose of the military is to start wars and change governments. It's not to sort of deter conflict. We're going to invade countries. And, my mind was spinning. And I put that aside. It was like a nugget that you hold on to. This country was taken over by a group of people with a policy coup. Wolfowitz and Cheney and Rumsfeld, and you could name a half dozen other collaborators from the Project for a New American Century. They wanted us to destabilize the Middle East, turn it upside down, make it under our control. It went back to those comments in 1991. Now, did anybody ever tell you that? Was there a national dialogue on this? Did senators and congressmen stand up and denounce this plan? Was there a full-fledged American debate on it? Absolutely not. And there still isn't. And that.
Hey, you know what's crazy? As he said, it kind of gave me goosebumps. 17 years ago, he said it still isn't. And today, the national media, there still isn't. There's no debate on none of this shit. When you turn on the news, everything is wrong with Iran. I'm not saying Iran is some perfect, great country, and but Iran did not deserve to be bombed. And we damn sure should be going to war with these people. But a lot of this stuff is biblical prophecy, and a lot of this stuff has to happen. There's no doubt about that. But the United States does have control. God does give you free will. Between the white Israel, the white people of Israel, the Jewish people, and the white people of America, they are in cahoots. I'm talking about the powerful, the elite. I'm not talking about the guy in Kentucky in a pickup truck. I'm talking about the powerful and the elite. They've made their minds up.
That's why we're failing in Iraq. Because Iran and Syria know about the war.
And that's another thing that took so long. Why the time frame had to change, because they was failing in these countries. It wasn't as easy as they thought. Once again, hubris.
Plan isn't. And that's why we're failing in Iraq. Because Iran and Syria know about the plan. All you have to do is read the Weekly Standard and listen to Bill Kristol, and he blabbermouths it all over the world. Richard Pearl the same way. They could hardly wait to finish Iraq so they could move into Syria. It was like a laydown. Oh, our legions are going to go in there. This wasn't what the American people voted George Bush into office for. They didn't actually vote him into office. But it wasn't what many of the people who.
There it is. One scheming and scamming.
It wasn't what he campaigned on. He campaigned on a humble foreign policy, the most arrogant foreign policy in American history. He campaigned on no peacekeeping, no nation building, and here he is with Afghanistan and Iraq. It's astonishing. So the root of the problem is not how many troops are in Iraq. Please believe me. Don't be mad if you're a Democrat at your Democratic congressman because they can't reduce the troops and frustrate the president. That's not the issue. And if you're a Republican, don't be mad at the Democrats because they're fussing with the troops. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you're an American, you ought to be concerned about the strategy of the United States in this region. What is our aim?
And when he said the strategy in this region, he said the Republican, the Democrat, all that's just bullshit. It's the military-industrial complex, and he keeps talking about these people, this group of people who have taken control of the United States government and the strategy, the military strategy. And who is these people? I'm going to let you in on this, the New World Order. And I talk about the New World Order a lot. Well, not a lot, but I talk about it from time to time. And I try to give a little game on the New World Order. The New World Order, the structure is already laid out and it's already in effect. The financial capital of the New World Order is London. The religious capital of the New World Order is the Vatican. The military complex of the New World Order is the Pentagon. The entertainment capital of the New World Order is Los Angeles. The cultural world capital of the New World Order is New York. All of this stuff is already in line and in order.
Is our purpose. Why are we there? Why are Americans dying in this region? That is the issue.
And I just want to, before I even got into this, I wanted to give you a foundation. Because sometimes when you go out and you talk to your friends or you talk, because some people like to discuss politics and what's going on in the world, you want a good talking point. And I just gave you something that's factual that they let you know they've been wanting to go into Iran. They've been wanting to go into Iran since the 80s. I told you I read in 91 they was going back into Iraq after the Gulf War. He told you in 91 he had heard something. He told you then when he came back before after 9/11, he went into the Pentagon and he's talking to people and they telling him about Iran and Syria and Sudan and Libya, Liberia and all this other shit because they already have that mapped out. But let's take a look at some of these clips. Israel, Iran, war. Let me say this. Israel has one of the best intelligence apparatuses on the planet. They are good at sabotage and infiltration. And one of the reasons is because the Jewish people of Israel all look a little different. If you know, you have the European looking ones, and then you have Jewish people who look Middle Eastern. So they can get in all the countries across the Middle East. For sure, because there are Jewish people who look like they Iranian, look like they Iraq, look like they from Hamas or Hezbollah. They have the features, the physical features. But they are top tier, and they infiltrated Iran and took out a lot of the military leadership. They sabotaged a lot of their nuclear facilities. They snuck in a whole a bunch of drones and used those as military strikes. So that part of their strategy is brilliant. Now, where they're weak at is missile defense. They ain't really every time they have a missile exchange with Iran, they need the help of the United States, help of the people from Jordan, Jordanians. They need help with these from the missile attack. They got the Iron Dome, which is their system. You have the THAAD system, which is United States missile defense, and you have the Patriot missile defense. Then you have missile defense, I think, off some of these ships too. But with all that missile defense, some of these bombs are still getting through because they're using ballistic missiles, which are extremely fast. Then they send drones out here first. Then they send some of the slower, like cruise missiles. Then they send ballistic missiles, which overwhelm the system. If it was just the Iron Dome system, half of Tel Aviv will be on fire. Half of Israel will be on fire. There's no doubt about that. But because of the United States and Jordan and these other countries that help, they're able to actually fend off a lot of these missiles. But Israel is not as strong as the media will have you think. They are good. I told you they're top tier at sabotage and infiltration and spies and some of the technology they have. They're good at that shit. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Iran and Israel tensions continue to escalate. Let's first get you the latest developments as of now. In its latest strikes in Tehran, Israel has struck the Iranian Defense Ministry headquarters. IDF says it has also completed an extensive series of strikes in Tehran related to the Iranian regime's nuclear weapons project. In a tweet, the IDF said the sites it has targeted included the Iranian Ministry of Defense headquarters, the headquarters of the SPND nuclear project, and additional targets, which it said advanced the Iranian regime's efforts to obtain a nuclear weapon and where the Iranian regime hid its nuclear archive. In Israel, sirens and explosions have been heard in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv as Iran announced a fresh missile salvo against Israel. Well, Israel's military confirmed the development in a post on social media X. It said that millions of Israelis were running for shelter as sirens sounded. in dozens of cities and communities around the country.
Iran is in a tough position because a lot of their air defenses has been taken out by the sabotage of Israel. Like I just told you, Israel is fantastic at that. And a lot of people are surprised at how well they were able to target where military generals were staying at, military strategists were staying at, and they eliminated a lot of these people. So, but even at that, Iran is a major country with a major offensive missile capability. Now, one thing about these missiles, let me give you a little game on these missiles. There's only so many of them. You can only both countries. The downside for Israel is the missiles that you use as missile defense to shoot it from the Iron Dome system to shoot these missiles out the sky are extremely expensive. The missiles that Iran is using is cheaper, but you have to shoot so many just to get so few through. So there's a downside for both countries. But I would imagine Iran would love to strike some military bases for the United States in the Middle East. But the last thing you really need when your air defenses is down, how Iran is the United States to start launching their missiles too. And the United States is a whole different ball game. We all know that. They can shoot from ships, air, at this point, probably space. So that's the last thing you want. So they're in a catch-22. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But we have to be careful with China. Watch out for China and Taiwan. That's why the United States don't want to get too engulfed in this, because they have to keep their eye on the ball with the major superpowers. So let's take a look at a couple more clips. And that's in Tel Aviv. As you can see, that was a ballistic missile. And they were shooting some out the sky. Like I said, they used drones, cruise missiles. The drones and the cruise missiles are moving a lot slower, so they launched them first. Then they shoot the ballistic missiles, which would probably only take 10 minutes to reach, 1,000 miles out. These things are moving really fast. So by the time the drones get there and the cruise missiles get there, which moving, it overwhelms the system because you shooting down drones, you trying to shoot down too many different things, and these ballistic missiles are moving way faster than that. So, that's how you see some of these missiles get through.
Get ready to pull it off the sticks. Get off the sticks. All right, let's go. Time to go. Okay. Guys, come on, everyone move. Everyone move now. Stay with us, stay with us. Pick up the gear. Let's go.
The U.S. intel view that among the targets were Israel.
Without the United States, 50% of the missiles probably would get through. That's why I say Tel Aviv and Haifa, the port city in Israel, a lot of these cities will be on fire. So they are very lucky. This is why they have the courage and the gumption to even try some of this shit. They have the big brother United States looking, or looking over their shoulder to make sure that they don't start getting beat too bad. So if anything start going too wrong, the United States basically just steps in. The United States is the whore for Israel at this point. This little bitty country now has to bend to the will of Israel because of how they let them infiltrate. And they are good at infiltration. I told you that. They have infiltrated the United States government, allegedly.
The airfields, but also, and this is crucial, the headquarters of Mossad, the International Intelligence Service of Israel, which is inside Tel Aviv. It's in the northern part of Tel Aviv, but it's in the city. It's in a densely populated area. And of course, the concern is if you're firing, even though Iran might consider that a military target, it is in a densely populated city.
טסנו פה משהו מטורף. מה זה? כאילו שוגר איזה מין...
And yeah, that's just one of those things where we hope this doesn't escalate, but we know World War III eventually is coming. I've been talking about the precursor to World War III for so long, but it's really not that long. This is a short period of time. From the time we started this last war with Iraq and Afghanistan to now, it's only been 20-some years. That's a long time, but it's not a long time. It's really not. We're going to go over one more clip. Huge explosions in Tel Aviv, Iranian missiles ripped through the city. New York Post. Let's take a look at the clip. Fair use, fair use. And that's in Tel Aviv, as you can see. They said right after this strike that Israel struck domestic oil consumption in Iran. If they start to attack Iran's only financial, their only way of making money, because America obviously has a lot of sanctions on Iran, which is the export of oil and natural gas to China and a few other countries, but mostly China. It's going to be a full-scale war. There's no doubt about that. Iran, like I said, their air defenses are really weak right now, but they do have a lot of offensive capabilities. And who knows who runs out of missiles first? These missiles are extremely expensive. We know last time they had a missile exchange between Israel and Iran, the Israelis ran out of missiles. They ran out of missiles for the Iron Dome. The United States had to step in and help. Shit, even we only got so many of those. It's only so many on the ships. So you would have to go back home and re-up or have new ships come out. So it's going to be interesting to watch, you guys. They say Israel hit Iran's Central Command earlier today. So while Iran's largest natural gas production facility in South Pars gas fields erupted into flames. And like I said, you guys, I do understand a lot of this stuff is biblical. I do understand that. I'm not naive to that. But these is only ballistic missiles. I don't think. Well, I know Iran does not have ICBMs, which is intercontinental ballistic missiles like North Korea, China, Russia, Pakistan, India, a lot of the European countries, and obviously the United States and Israel. But them intercontinental ballistic missiles, them bitches almost impossible to shoot down. You're talking about missiles traveling at 18,000 miles per hour. That's so fast that you can't even, when they get up, it's over. Yeah, that's why the United States and Russia and China are so hesitant to go to war with one another. You're talking about missiles that that can reach out 8,000 miles in under 15 minutes. These missiles are moving. So the ICBMs, Iran don't have those. So this is another reason why they have courage to do that, to attack Iran. You see what they talk all the shit in the world about North Korea. North Korea yell out death to America, death to Israel, death to all these countries. They don't care. They ain't attacking North Korea. Why? Because they got ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. Russia got two. I remember Russia a couple of years ago they had the Satan 1 and the Satan 2. These missiles are traveling so fast they go up in space and come back down, raining at speeds that's unfathomable. But it is something I want to keep my eye on. I'm also gonna make a video on these on these ICE raids and all these things and give you my thoughts on that. I will say that it's not surprising that black people aren't involved in any of these protests. We are pretty much done with that shit. You're on your own. Nobody really likes the Negro. I got Mexican people who I got love for, who I'm cool with. But as a group, Mexican people have never really liked Negroes. They never have. Most Latinos identify as white. That's a fact. I've been knew that for 20 years. All the immigrants come over here. They don't pay no homage to the Negro who fought for all the civil rights. They have zero appreciation for the Negro. So we have every right to sit out. But I will be going over that and my thoughts on that. But before I leave, I want to say this. This is why, as a Negro, it's good to be apolitical. Don't buy into these people. Donald Trump is a demon. Elon Musk is a demon. Joe Biden is a demon. Come on, all these people are demons. People say, well, I picked this side, I like that side, and this, that, and the third. Man, you supposed to put as a Negro, you're supposed to put your faith in God first. These demons, you ain't supposed to have no faith. People say, oh, I'm picking the lesser two evils. Who? And I always ask this question, who's the evil police? Who gets to measure who's more evil, who's not, who's less evil, when we don't personally know these people and get to see what they're doing? And let's be honest, behind the scenes, they're all in cahoots together. I just showed you the video from 17 years ago, them saying they was going into all these countries. That spans over Republican and Democrat. Who was known as the drone president, killed more people with drones than anybody? Obama. So, I mean, don't get caught up in this, man. Keep your faith. Stay real, stay blessed, stay true. Keep your eye on the prize, y'all. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been Sports Life Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on the precursors to World War III ride. Peace.